Right, hello everybody, welcome along. So I'm going to talk you through today's lesson. The way it should work then is, as some of the ones I've done with you before is, I'm going to talk you through bits and then ask you to pause the video, and at that point you complete the activities during those pauses rather than just watching this all the way through and then doing the lesson. So just be ready to pause it and have your pen and paper ready if you haven't got so already. So the lesson really, as it says at the very top, about trying to explore your vocabulary, expand it, and try and help you use some ambitious vocabulary as well. And there's going to be some creative writing a little bit later, but sort of in blocks rather than one big piece today. So task number 1, as it says on the screen there, I'm going to ask you to challenge yourself. Look at those bullet points there, look at those objects, and basically you're going to have 5 minutes to try and make a list or a mind map or even bullet point as many bits of vocabulary that would describe any of those things. I think the best way of doing it would be, before you write down the words, maybe write the word sky and then next to it put as many words, and when you're stuck, move on, move on, move on. Okay, so as many as you can in 5 minutes. Actually stop and time yourself. I'm going to go quiet now for a few seconds so you can pause this video, please. Off you go. Right, there we go. I wonder how you got on. Well, I'll find out when you upload it to show my homework a little bit later. Right, so there are some examples then on this slide which you could have used, because of course you may have come up with some. You might have found that really, really difficult. However you did, look at those words now. I'm actually going to ask you to pause this slide very shortly to do an activity with these words. As with many of my lessons, I've always given you opportunities where we try and expand your vocabulary. So on this slide, I should say, you will see words that you are absolutely familiar with, and there'll be words on there that will just be absolutely new to you as well. So what you want to do is actually start going through this and adding these to your page for today, but copying the word and then also copying down the definition, please, much like we've done in class when we've used dictionaries before. Now, it may be you are familiar with a lot of those words, in which case start going for the ones that you're a little bit uncertain of. I look at noises, for example. I see staccato on there. A lot of you have come across monotonous with me before, but then there's ricochet, meandering above that in the yellow box, surging, and you may have an idea of sort of what words like surging means, but I reckon that most of you probably couldn't concretely give me an exact definition on your own. So use this 15 minutes, please. This is when I look at this on showing my homework, it really should represent 15 minutes worth of work. I'd expect you to get at least 10 words done, probably more. So I'm going to go quiet again to allow you to pause this video. Looking up definitions for about 10 to 15 words, please, in 15 minutes. Off you go. Right then, there we go. Look forward to seeing which ones you were choosing then, and hopefully again what you've got there is like a slightly expanded vocabulary, words that you can try and experiment with today. Now there's a title for you, just to get something at the top of your page. Remember, keep all of this work safe because we're going to bring it back to school when we're back in. So if you need to pause it now. If not, I'm going to move on. And we move on to this, which is your third task for today then, please. So what we have on the right-hand side, I am not going to read that to you. Really should be able to rely on you to read that properly. So in a moment, you'll pause the slide and have a look at that. And then on the left-hand side, there are some questions I want you to think about, because you are going to be doing a very similar piece of writing to this. So make sure you are reading that one on the right-hand side properly. And the questions are, how does the writer use language to describe the forest? That is a GCSE style question. You'd find that sort of question on language paper 1. And then I've got 2 things I want you to do really. Number 1, which one's the best adjective he uses to describe the forest? Why? And by why, I'm asking you for more than just because it sounds really cool or it makes it sound scary. Think about almost, this is language analysis, please, guys. This is GCSE, so make it look like that on your page. Number 2, the 3 most effective verbs used to describe the forest. And I'm just scanning down through. We've got words like, I see stabbed jumps out at me there, ceased. What else have I got? Like, okay, a little bright hole. I can't find a third one now. Well, thump along. There are leaned over. There are quite a few there. Some I think are quite sinister in this. It almost very much is personifying the forest, that method of personification. So see how that works. So I'm going to ask you to pause in a minute to have a go at answering those questions. I'm not making you do a full GCSE answer, but I will if people aren't having a proper go at this one. So give it a good go for me, please. I'm going to go quiet, have a go at answering those questions. Off you go. And if you've unpaused this video now and you've only spent 2 minutes on that, you need to pause it again and have a go and make sure that is 10 minutes worth of writing there should be there, please. And if you haven't had a go at the challenge question, you really should have. If you have, brilliant. We move on. And this is what I'm going to ask you to do, is pause and actually think and do this, which is actually brainstorming some ideas for this picture. This is where we start moving towards the question 5 writing that you find on your language paper. And as it says there, really, it's that picture, and you're going to be doing a description of that. There are some bullet points down there, which should support you. Yesterday's lesson 1, I didn't actually use this with anyone in a previous lesson, so you can ignore that. But really, imagine you were going to use that as the starting point for a piece of creative writing, like you would with me. Yes, bullet point down some vocabulary, but actually, can you think of this as a flashback? And then you've got somebody who then makes a journey into this picture, going somewhere, moving towards an end point which maybe they're really nervous about. So actually you've got a really beautiful forest, and you could maybe contrast that against a really negative memory in this place. That could make for a really interesting piece of writing, that juxtaposition between negative memory, positive location. But have them moving through. But that's what you need to come up with in this 5 minutes of planning. Okay, so this is a 5-minute pause that you need to do, a 5-minute mind map for me. Off you go. Okay, and then we move on to a quick reminder actually, yeah, so these are examples from the mark scheme. As when I've marked your work before, the top left one, you get a mark out of 24. The bottom right one, you get a mark out of 16. Top left is for your content and organisation. So content, what's in your work, organisation is your planning and your structure of it. And then bottom right is your accuracy. So you can see I've highlighted the fact that vocabulary comes up twice in the mark scheme, making it really, really valuable. But it's about extensive, ambitious use of vocabulary, but it does need to fit in the right place. You can't just sound like a thesaurus. You actually need to be trying to build vocabulary that has a specific effect. So guess what? That's why you looked up that vocabulary at the start of the lesson. It's ambitious, it's extensive, and you're going to try and build it in to your writing today when you do this activity. So task 4 in the blue box there, 4 paragraphs, because you've got describing the setting during the day, during the night, during the summer, during winter. So you're not going to use your plan directly. I wanted you to do that plan because I think it's an important step, but we're not actually going to do that piece of writing. You might be able to borrow ideas, however, from your plan there. But really it's descriptive paragraph writing, as it says, those 4 times. Day, night, summer and winter. So that really makes you think about this piece. That's where you're going to have to choose carefully those words that you've looked up and make sure that they work, because some words may not be very summery words, some may not be very wintry words, for example. The winter piece, I'd expect it to have a real sort of harsh tone and atmosphere, as nighttime would probably be a bit more spooky, whereas daytime maybe feels more relaxed, warm, friendly. Summer may be the same sort of thing, but I'm looking to see the difference really between these 4 paragraphs. And I've put 30 minutes. Once again, I'm talking to a very small minority of people who will try and do that, and they'll think, oh, 10 minutes, bish bash bosh, job done. And quite simply, guys, I'll just click on not submitted for your work. So make sure you give this a really good 30 minutes. And as I put on the right hand side there, these 4 paragraphs don't need to link together. It's more about letting you experiment with your vocabulary than trying to write one single piece where you move from day to night to summer to winter. So hopefully that's a decent enough explanation. I can't make it any better than that. It's over to you now to have a go for half an hour before you then, as it says on my final slide in fact, proofread, edit, and then finally submit your paragraphs on Show My Homework for me to have a look. If there's anything, as always, you can email me. Otherwise, big thank you for watching this and see you soon.